Sweet and Sour Comics here. We're in Greenwood, Nebraska at a big antique shop we've been wanting to come to for a long time.
Well, I found some.
Wow. That's the living monolith. That was a bust at that antique shop. Lots of neat things, but prices seemed like they were a little high. All right, we just got done at Rainbow Comics. It was a nice place, very clean shop. Prices seemed reasonable, but it's a newer shop, so not a lot of old backstock that we're looking for. Hey, those were all the clips from our comic book hunting this weekend. And remember, like and subscribe, Sweet and Sour Comics, and look at us on Instagram. So we went to a lot of places this weekend. It was big trips. First place we went on Saturday was Platte Valley Antiques. And when we went there, they had actually a pretty large selection of Golden Age and some Silver Age comics. Even I think some early Bronze Age stuff. But one of the things we found was all the issues that we were finding, they had condition problems, and most of them were more like a Daffy Duck or a Scrooge McDuck or a Porky Pig or a Lulu comics, things like that, some Sad Sack. That's really not the stuff that Sam and I are really into collecting. We did find a couple of Batman issues that were really interesting. We found a couple of Flash issues that were really cool from the Bronze Age. But again, for the condition that they were in, super overpriced. The one comic that really caught my eye was a Golden Age Wonder Woman. It was a number 72. But again, huge condition issues. Once I opened it up, it looked okay at first, and I actually considered possibly getting it. But then on closer inspection, it was almost all the way separated. The cover from the book and the spine was broken all the way, 3/4 of the way up the book. And I just couldn't justify pulling the trigger. I think they wanted like $60 for that thing or something. And again, it was a great shop though, clean place, nice people, very accommodating, just not stuff we were quite looking for. Hey, the next place we went was Rainbow Comics. It was in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a shop that we'd never been to before. It's in the Clock Tower Plaza, right off of A Street, if you guys are ever interested in going there. Looks like a newer shop. It's got some of those little pop culture figure kind of things and some other action figures and collectibles. Not a lot of old books, but they do have it sort of organized, at least alphabetized. But when you get over there, you go to the section that says, for instance, like Spider-Man, because we know Sam collects Spider-Man. Well, it's every Spider-Man, and they just all kind of jammed into one area. They've got a huge selection of moderns, and they got a huge selection of present-day books. Again, the lady that was there was super nice, super clean shop. I'd recommend going there, but again, probably not going to find a lot of what you're looking for because it is a newer shop. All right, the second place we went in Lincoln was Trade-A-Tape. That's one of our favorite shops to go to. It's probably the oldest comic book shop, I want to say, in Nebraska, if not the oldest. They've got always a huge selection of backstock for us, whether it's Silver Age, Bronze Age, or modern books that we're looking for. Today, when Sam and I went in there, we were looking for X-Men and Web of Spider-Man. I was being very, very cautious about what I wanted, though, because I had just dropped some big coin on a Grail issue the night before. That's going to be our big reveal at the end. But first, we're going to look at Web of Spider-Man 35 and 47, respectively. These two issues are just some filler issues that Sam wanted. He's almost got, I think, to issue 50 now. He was pretty excited to pick up that 35 because he, like myself, we don't like to read stuff when we've got gaps in the storylines, whether it's a new arc or not. So now he's got that, and he's well on his way to having the whole collection pretty soon. So then the last book that we picked up at Trade-A-Tape was Amazing Spider-Man number 256. This was the first appearance of Puma. This is a new villain that Spider-Man had to deal with. Cover art's really pretty cool. Sam really liked it, and it was for a good price, too. He said it's typically like a $20 book, and he picked it up for $7. Really good price. Book's in really great condition. One of the things that I want to mention at Trade-A-Tape, because I got that Grail issue on Friday night, was they had an X-Men number 96 there for $24. It looked like it was in pretty good shape. I actually opened it up. The pages were white to off-white. The cover, though, looked a little bit faded. So I was really hedgy. Did I want to get it? Will I not get it? Do I want to get it? Do I not get it? And I said, you know, I could probably get a better issue just for a few more dollars. But if it's there in the next week or so, when Sam and I make our way back down to Lincoln again, we may pick it up anyways, just so we have that issue, because it's one of the few issues of the original run of X-Men that I still... So throughout the week, every week, I do like to visit some of our local comic book shops, and one of the shops that's super close to where I work is Ground Zero Comics. They always have great back issues at a great price. So the first books that I picked up were some X-Men back filler issues, and I picked up X-Men 93, 94, 98, and 110. I thought they were just some nice fillers. I need a lot of this run. I've got about a third of it right now. Fortunately, they either made a lot of issues, which I know they did, and it's not the most popular run. So I'm getting them for pretty cheap. Typically, cover price on there is about $3 or $4 each. And Ground Zero is super cool, and they sell us back stock for half price. Okay, here's a funny little story. So when we were going to Lincoln this weekend, Sam was like, "What is that in the back seat of your car?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Dad, it's 2 more comic books." And I said, "Well, I don't know. Let's see what they are." So when I went to look, it was issue 206 of the X-Men and the final issue of that run, 207. What I think is really interesting is just how much the art and the way the pages were, drawn out, if you will. I know it's different artists and different time periods and things like that, but really big changes from the style of art that was being done, where it almost went from more of a comic book look to more of like an oil painting kind of big production kind of look at the end of this run. All right, so because I do like Ground Zero and it is close to my house, I went back there again this same week, and I got a couple of old New Mutants issues because, again, I love the Claremont art, or the Claremont writing, rather. I got New Mutants number 38, which I keep thinking somewhere I'm going to find this in my collection, because I distinctly remember having that at some point in my life with the kids coming out of the graves, because I always thought that that was super creepy when I was a kid. And then an issue that I know I didn't have, which is really a pretty cool issue, is New Mutants number 40. It's got Captain America on the front fighting Magneto in that ridiculous costume that they put him in the 1990s with those, I don't know how to describe it. It was just horrendous in my opinion. That costume made its debut, I believe, in X-Men 200. And he has almost like this opera glove looking thing on where his gloves go all the way up to here. And I always thought that that just was a stupid look and a dumb costume. But it was the 90s and everybody had kind of weird costumes off and on. But I think his was one of the worst. So, and because I'm such a good dad, at the same time that I picked up this cool issue of the New Mutants, I also looked through the box for some more Spider-Man for Sam, and I went for some Web of Spider-Man. And again, another shout out to CLZ. They don't sponsor me, they don't do anything, but boy, they help keep me organized. And I can also look for books for Sam because we have pretty much been putting in all the books that we ever get, so I know what issues he has and what he doesn't have. And so I picked up a really weird looking issue. It's got this guy named Rocket Racer and some villain named the Skinhead, and he's like this amorphous looking guy, and something that I didn't know, but it is really kind of poignant to, I guess this guy is some sort of racist or something. There's a little right there, there's a, or where is it at? Right there, there's a little Nazi symbol on his face, which I found interesting, but I was like, well, it leads towards the story. And then just because this cover jumped out at me because I liked the cover, and he didn't have the issue, obviously, I got him number 64. It kind of reminded me of a lot of classic covers that you saw of Spider-Man back in the Bronze Age, where it was just this big group of villains, or, you know, and he just seems like this lone hero trying to fight to save New York or whatever particular city he might be in at the time. I just liked the cover a lot, so I got that for him as well. All right, so an issue that I've been searching for the Uncanny X-Men for a while, in decent shape, but just couldn't pull the trigger on a good price. Finally got a good price on this one, found it on eBay. I think I paid around $22 for it total with tax and shipping. And it is X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 117. It's the first appearance of the Shadow King. It's a cool little story. Professor Xavier meets up with this guy that's called Farouk. He's a giant, fat dude, and he's actually the Shadow King, and they have a psionic war, mental war between each other, in which Xavier is victorious. The only thing is it's actually in really, really good shape. There's no wrinkles in the cover. The pages were white, and the only thing that was a little odd with it is if you look at the top here, it was manufacturally cut a little weird. When I first saw it, I thought, well, maybe they trimmed the top off. And then I just took a chance and I ordered the book. And when I got the book, I actually measured it just to make sure. And it's the correct size as any other book. If you go and look at the margins, on the bottom margins of the pages on the inside, you can see that that margin's a little taller than the top margin, which usually they're more equal. So everything turned out okay with this, and it's a pretty good book to add to my collection, and I'm getting closer and closer every week to having that full run of X-Men that I want. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is our Friday escapades. So throughout the week, Sam had been saying, man, there's an estate sale. I saw this estate sale. It popped up. It's going to be ready to go. I think it was Thursday or Wednesday night that he saw the posting on Facebook saying, hey, estate sale, lots of comic books, showed a picture, just a tote at first. I think the next day they threw up a picture that actually had some short boxes, 4 or 5 short boxes as well. So he told his mom, Mom, I want to go and see this estate sale before we go to Lincoln. And he's helping his grandma out in Lincoln. And so Mom says, okay, yeah, sure, not a problem. And he goes, Mom, we have to be there right when it opens, at 9 o'clock, no later than 9. She's like, oh, yeah, not a problem. And he's like, Mom, really, no, at 9. She's like, we'll be there at 9, Sam. And he's like, okay, Mom. So I'm at work, and 9:05 rolls around, and so I text Sam, hey, Sam, what's up? You know, how's the comic books at that estate sale? And I get a dejected text, we haven't left yet. We're getting close, or we haven't gotten there yet. We're getting close. We're probably 10 minutes away. And I said, what? And he goes, I know. And that was all he said. I was like, all right, well, whatever, you know. I said, it'll be okay. So 9:20 rolls around. And he said, I said, well, how'd it go? In a text. And he said, got there, and it looked like the comic books had already been picked through. I could feel the dejection in him, but I was like, you know, I said, it's okay, it happens. I said, maybe next time, you know, you guys can make it there right when it opens instead of getting there a little early or a little late, and then you'll be the first person to go through it and find some more keys and stuff. And he's like, well, I did pick up 2 books, though. And I was like, sweet. I was like, what 2 books are those? And he found some super cool Charlton comics from the ones from 1974 and ones from 1975. And he flashed some pictures at me, and I was just like, man, those are just cool. So the first one that I want to show you guys today is Ghostly Tales from 1974. It's issue 116, and we haven't read them yet, but cool cover. I think the art is cool. It's in super good shape too. There's, you know, for, I guess you want to say that the third competitor in the 70s for comic books, the Charlton Comics. I was looking at the spines and everything else, and it's a pretty nice book. And there's no tick marks. Pages, again, they're white. The cover, I don't think is faded. We looked at a few covers online, and it looked pretty much the same. He got them for $1 a piece, and when we looked online, they're like $10 to $15 books, you know, 20 on a real good day if it's graded. But that was a good find in my opinion. And then he found the all-new Phantom, and that was from 1975, and it was issue 62. And the Phantom was a superhero from the 30s, late 30s or early 40s, I believe, and I don't think he was in Charlton Comics originally, but they must have got the copyrights to him, and they resurrected him in the 60s. I think this run started in 1966, and it was pretty popular, I guess, for a while, because it lasted at least 8 years, and I think it went beyond that as well. But another great cover, good Bronze Age cover, and the book, again, is in excellent shape. What book is it, Sam?
It's the big one.
This is the big one. I cannot believe that I got this book. So, to put it in perspective, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's so crazy. I am 51 years old, going to be 52 years old this year. I have never seen this book at a comic book shop. And I've been collecting comics now. Again, I always caveat this. I did take a break from about 2005 to like right now, this past year, collecting again. But basically, for 51 years, I've never seen this book in a comic book shop. And I've been to a ton of them. I've been to shops in Houston. I've been to shops in Austin. I've been to shops in Omaha and Lincoln, in Kansas City. And they might have had it here or there, and maybe I just didn't see it, but I've never personally seen one. I see them all the time on the internet for sale for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I go into my favorite shop in Omaha, Nebraska, Legends Comics. And the owner says to me, "Hey, how you doing, Britt?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing fine." And so she was talking to another client. And I went in and I said, "Well, I'll just get some back issues of the X-Men series from the 90s, kind of keep filling that up." So I picked up like 4 of those, went to Web of Spider-Man. Sam had them all. Went to see if there was any old Amazing Spider-Man, but because they're moving to a new shop, most of their back stock is already transitioned over to that new stock or the new shop, and so they don't have a lot of back stock left there. And so I'm just like, all right. So I went up and I had like 4 or 5 issues of just the X-Men. And I got a pack of backing boards, because one of the things that I did in the 80s was when I collected comics, I just threw them in a bag. That was the typical way of doing things. No backing boards. Well, I'm changing that. I want to put backing boards and everything to help preserve the comics a little bit. And as I was about to ring up, Wendy says, "Hey, did Dave tell you about his black box?" And I said, "Wendy, what are you talking about?" I said, "What black box?" And she said, "The black box over there on the table." She goes, "Guys, I can't believe you didn't tell him." And so Dave's mom is having some medical issues, so he's selling comics to help with the bills or get a ticket or to go see her or whatever he's going to do with this money. But it's for his mom and for charity to help out. And I was like, okay. I said, I couldn't imagine typically anything in a box that I'd want to get. I don't know Dave very well. He's a part-time worker there, good dude. And Wendy said, "Yeah, you can put it in my shop." So I go to the box, open it up, and the first thing I see is the entire run of Secret Wars. All 12 issues. And I think it's 12 issues.
Something like that.
I was never a big Secret Wars guy. I know, crazy. But I thumbed through it and they were all there, and including this, first appearance of Black Costume. And it was like a bundle deal, and he wanted $100 or $300 for that. If he wanted $100, I would have had that too. But he wanted $300 for that, and I was like, no. Especially because I wasn't ever big into the Secret Wars. And then there was some other bundle deal that he had. And then I couldn't believe it. As I was thumbing through the issues, there it was. And my heart almost skipped a beat. Because again, I've never seen this before, ever. I've never seen it. I've seen it at a couple of comic book conventions, but it was sky high, but never at just a local comic book shop. And one of the reasons why is because when they come in, they leave so fast. Guess what? That box had been there for 3 hours before I got there. And the best part about this is I was like, am I going to go to Ground Zero or am I going to go to Legends today? This was on Friday afternoon, and I decided to go to Legends instead of Ground Zero. Something just kept telling me go to Legends. So there in that box was issue 101 of the Uncanny X-Men. First appearance of the Phoenix. I've got like goosebumps right now. Again, just saying those words. 51 years. I'm 51 years old, and I've been collecting comic books off and on since I was 16. And now I have it. Of the run that I love the most. This is one of my Grail issues. Like, issue number 1 would probably be the only one more important to me than having this book right here. I got this book at a smoking deal. It was $120. $120. And I went through that book with a fine-tooth comb. Looking at it, there's little tiny imperfections on it. Like there's a little line color break right here at Cyclops' head, and then little tiny creases in the corners. It's not perfect by any means. The back cover was actually pretty dirty, and on Friday night when nobody was home, I got under a magnifying glass with a natural light and did some real light cleaning, and most of that dirt came off, and I might go back and do that again. But the front cover is, as you can see, super clean, and again, pages are white. I mean, white to off-white. I want to be. I'm a little excited, but honestly, white to off-white, and I'm almost speechless. I never thought that I would find this book as fast as I did when I started collecting X-Men again. And I never thought that I'd find it for that price. And I was so excited. I said, hey, Sam, I picked up a Grail issue at Legends. And he goes, let me see it. Because he was still with Mom on Friday in Lincoln. And I said, no, you're going to have to wait till you get home. And then I just couldn't contain myself, and I had to take a picture and send it to him. He couldn't believe it. He was so excited for me, and that's one of the honestly super special things about comic book collecting with Sam is that where my dad wouldn't have ever been excited at all about something like this, I've got a son who appreciates this and knows that it has a value, not only to me, but to himself. He knows, and I've told him this a million times, when I die someday, my collection is his. I love his brothers to death. He's got 2 older brothers, but they don't have the appreciation that he has for these books. And I know that I don't collect purely for, it's not like it's an investment to me. In a way it is. I mean, I know that these are worth to the right people, cash, but to me, this is stuff from when I was a kid, my childhood, and I get to pass this on to him as an adult, that love for reading comics and the art, and it's just such a cool thing, and I am, again, I won't send it in to get graded because I might want to read it every once in a while. I've already read it. When I got it, I read it. I know the story, but I read it again, and it's, again, 101. There's not much more you can say about this. This is the Uncanny X-Men, the second generation, I think, at its finest in writing, in art. I mean, it was just amazing, that period of time. So I don't know what I'm going to do next week to top things off. Probably won't be able to top it next week, but that's okay. This is, again, a hobby that both Sam and I love, and this is why I do the videos. And until next week, this is Britton DeWeese and Sam DeWeese for Sweet and Sour Comics. And I hope everybody out there likes our videos, and I hope everybody out there subscribes to us. And please keep watching us. We're growing just a little bit every week. I know I'm not the best at this, but I love doing it, and I love being part of this community. And the more I get books, the more I'll get back into it. And we'll see you next week.